My name is unimportant. Who I am is only vaguely relative to what I write, thus I shall elude such details, for little time do I possess. I fear I may die before I finish my account, and yet I must write of the phenomenon that has terrified me to the very corners of my sanity, scattering my rationality into some antiquate vision of madness. O such torment, my account begins. My abode dwells by a large forest of beauty and wilderness. For years I have wandered through the forest upon nightfall, watching all the creatures that take delight in the darkness as I, beasts and rodents and mammals of incredulous wonder and innocence. Murder in the wild is only an ignorance of empathy for other creatures, and nearly all murder in this existence is born of the will to survive, far beyond true human comprehension. You see, I studied these beings, the fox, the rabbit, the classic hunter and the classic prey, as well as the spiders of my wood with the flies in the brighter days. My conviction in such an ocean is this: I know when something is being hunted. Bear this in mind, as I skip ahead of myself and must write with haste. My wife had died. My offspring moved into the cities to earn what the production would yield them, and I am a simple man without those needs. Besides, I felt the presence of my lost wife within the wood. When the winds blow through the trees, it is as if she sings to me, calling me to come to her, and I dance in the beauty of perfect drama. But I speak too much of myself. I was in love with this forest, but now its potential contents frighten me greatly to the core of my existence, for it is truth, only truth. My scattered thoughts are spiralling, but I tried to order them for whomsoever may read this. I never needed a weapon from the animals. I loved them dearly and need not harm them. Besides, the lack of threat I posed, they knew all too well. This is why I was, and am, unarmed. I was by the badger den. I could hear life, smell it, but could not see it. I sat upon a rock, taking in the brilliance of the darkened wood, and I used not this word sparingly. It was almost utter black. I carried a candle if it was needed, but seldom was it lit. I preferred candles to lanterns. There is something infinitely more beautiful in their simplicity. At first I thought maybe I did not hear anything, but my witness was too costly to dismiss as an illusion. I heard a fox wail with pain in the distance. Never before had I heard a creature of such size scream with such agony. You see, badgers and foxes are by far the biggest creatures in the wood. In the delicate cycle, they do not hunt each other, and in fact live in harmony mainly, only fighting when survival of young is involved. But for years, plenty of prey have dwelled nearby. They need not quarrel. Some larger hunter had come, this I knew, and I had to bear further witness. I feared no creature, for they all gently fear mankind, and further on, my death would cause no real misery. I am old enough to say I have lived. I walked the direction of the noise. It was as sudden to finish as it had been sounded, but I followed nonetheless, with caution, a movement. At first, I thought it was a wisp of steam in the cold night, but it was not as random as steam, more like a shadow's movement. I was unsure as to what, but I knew something did move. Not the flickering darkness of hidden intelligent life, no, this was a more slow gesture, that seemed not to end and not appear as anything in particular. I made my way to the fox who had died a bloody death. An atmosphere was cast upon me as if I was entering unknown depleted lands, when in fact that was an area I had been many a time, and bore no particular difference to any other part of my wood. Upon inspection, my bloody friend had lost most of his flesh, with blood-soaked wounds as teeth mark could be observed. A large predator indeed, and I was puzzled as to what predator could dwell here so violently. Wolves had not been spotted in the area for long enough to deem them impossible. Animals here do not attack humans, I reassured myself. I was safe, but more fatally, I was curious. I fear that indeed, curiosity kills more than just kittens. I wandered in my slow pace through the night, tempus fugit. Nothing more of alarm was beheld. I witnessed all the creatures I held dearly, inhaling the smell of freshly damp soil after an evening shower. Such a beautiful scent, nature at its best. Within an hour of sunrise, as I was finding my way home, I began to hear groaning, whispers, human whispers. In surprise, I turned to see who should have stood but 10 paces from me, whispering his tiresome words. But nothing stood in the enclosed dark. I stood for a moment, trying to hear the words that I thought must only exist in my head. Nothing once more. I moved quicker towards my home, yet I am slow in my old age, less agile than I once was. I continued my journey, being stalked by my own madness as fear gripped my soul. It was as if I was trapped in some grim abyss, words in my head that I could not quite decipher. "Rebecca! Rebecca!" I thought I heard, the voice with a tone of waning melancholy. I turned once more to see. At first, I fancied I saw nothing again, but no. Something I saw. A black figure, human figure, tall and foreboding. It was hooded with a black cloak, bearing some sort of weapon. And as my gaze fell his way, he tilted his head ever so slightly, raising it up as if to look upon my form. I turned and fled, before a glance of his face was upon my frozen stare. I ran with power I no longer thought I had, for death had come for me, wielding some large weapon to crush me with. I did not get a full sight of it, and I cared little for what it truly was. As a symbol, his weapon was enough to render me in danger. Why had he spoken the name Rebecca? I asked myself without the time or ability to know. However which way everything hangs in the balance of existence, in the balance of gods and their nature's beauty, I can only question reality in uncertainty. I will perish soon. I still hear his mumbling of some Rebecca. Something is to be done in her name, I think. Death has come for me, and I am not sure if I am just a mistake in his judgment, for I know no such deer named Rebecca. I write these words in my candlelight by an oak tree, fearful he will see the light, but in some unfortunate way, I accept my fate here. I fled from him, but still I hear him, and despite my efforts, I cannot sight him. Perhaps he has given me enough mercy to write my desperate jottings before my death. I am terrified in truth, and I shall not hide my cowardice. I fear cowardice of all times is justified when one's end is lurking in the shadows somewhere unknown. Death has come for me. I will be gone before sunrise, this I know. If I do not die by his hand and weapon, then my heart and lungs will continue to pace themselves beyond good health, and fail to cope. I will. I hope whoever finds this learns death does come for us. He approaches, wielding his blade and mumbling without remorse for the men he strikes fear in. My end is here.